At some point, debt stopped feeling dangerous. Loans, monthly payments, credit cards, 30-year mortgages, they stopped feeling like warnings and started feeling like life. But here's the question nobody asks. If debt is normal, why does it quietly decide where you work, how long you stay, and what risk you're allowed to take? Debt didn't become normal by accident. It was taught, repeated, socially rewarded. And once something feels normal, you stop questioning it. That's how control becomes invisible. Chapter 1. Debt didn't become normal, it was normalized. There was a time when debt meant danger. It meant vulnerability, dependence, loss of freedom. People avoided it because they understood something simple. If you owe someone, they have power over you. But modern systems needed workers who would stay put. So debt was reframed, not as a risk, but as responsibility. Student loans became self investment, mortgages became smart adulthood, car loans became basic necessity, credit cards became financial tools. The meaning of debt changed, not because the risk disappeared, but because the system needed obedience to feel normal. And the earlier this normalization starts, the deeper it runs. Chapter 2. How early conditioning made debt feel inevitable. Debt isn't introduced in adulthood, it's planted much earlier. You're taught good education requires loans. A real adult owns a home. You need a car to succeed. Everyone has debt. That's just life. So by the time you sign your first loan, it doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like a step. You don't ask, do I need this? You ask, how much can I afford per month? That question alone reveals the trap. Debt wasn't sold as obligation, it was sold as progress. And once debt feels inevitable, it starts shaping your behavior. Chapter 3. When debt stops feeling dangerous, it starts controlling you. Debt doesn't control you loudly, it controls you quietly. It changes your risk tolerance, your patience, your courage. You don't stay in a job because it fulfills you. You stay because you can't miss a paycheck. You don't challenge authority because you're weak. You avoid it because the consequences feel too high. That doesn't remove your freedom directly, it removes your margin. And without margin, every decision becomes defensive. This is how people become manageable, not because they're incapable, but because they're financially constrained. And the system rewards people who accept this without resistance. Chapter 4. Why society praises the most controlled people. Look closely at who gets praised. The person with stable job, predictable income, long-term debt, and minimal disruption. They're called responsible, mature, successful. Meanwhile, those who reduce debt, take risks, or step outside the system are called reckless, irresponsible, unrealistic. This moral inversion is intentional. The system doesn't punish debt, they celebrate it. Because people with debt don't cause instability, they maintain it. But this is not how wealth actually moves. Chapter 5. Why the wealthy never let debt feel normal. Wealthy individuals don't reject debt, they reject dependence. They don't normalize debt as lifestyle, they use it selectively, strategically, temporarily. They don't ask, how much can I afford monthly? They ask, what does this debt give me control over? Debt that funds consumption weakens you. Debt that funds ownership strengthens you. That distinction changes everything. Most people were never taught this difference. So, how do you unlearn what feels normal without blowing up your life? Chapter 6. How to reclaim awareness without panic. Breaking free doesn't start with drastic action, it starts with awareness. Begin here. 1. Question every debt that only funds appearance, not leverage. 2. Measure freedom, not comfort. 3. Rebuild margin before ambition. 4. Reduce fixed obligations before increasing income. 5. Stop asking, is this normal? And ask, is this necessary? The goal isn't to reject society. The goal is to stop sleepwalking through it. Because once you see how something became normal, it loses its power over you. Final truth. Normal was the most effective lie. That didn't trap you by force, it trapped you by feeling normal. Once something feels normal, you stop defending yourself against it. And that's how systems persist, not through cruelty, but through familiarity. If you want to understand how money, psychology, and systems quietly shape your decisions and how to rebuild leverage without living in fear, you can explore the Money Mirror Playbook. Link in the description. Because the moment you stop asking, is this normal? And start asking, who does this benefit? The system starts losing control. The mirror never lies. The question is, now that you see it, will you keep calling it normal or finally question it?